Ladies and gentlemen, this is David Mirikitani with Matt Chat. Really excited to be joined from the Sunkist Kids, Coach Mark Perry, multiple time national champion, Zahid Valencia. And the rumor is we're going to have a special guest uh, jumping on with us in a couple of minutes. First of all, guys, how is it in Tempe, or is it's snow outside of my office here?
Yeah, I mean it's cold for me just because I'm coming from California, but it's nice. Right now it's probably like let's say 60s, maybe. Yeah,
Nice,
66 right now.
nice,
So that's nice. It feels good.
good. Well, Zahid, I got a chance to talk to you just a minute or two off the air. Never had a chance to talk to you before that, so
Yeah,
it's great to meet you. I, I'm trying to come up with some different questions, maybe than you've been asked before.
yeah,
You obviously had that match with Jordan a couple months ago, and like we just watched Conor McGregor fight, and we talked. The big thing with him was like ring rust and time and stuff like that. You hadn't wrestled
yeah,
obviously in several months, and you and I were talking off the air like there's a million kids matches and
yeah.
then 100 high school matches and then college matches and international matches is less and less. How much was ring rust? How much is ring rust a real thing? And what were your emotions sort of going into that match?
Um, I mean, obviously the ring rust could affect you, but I feel like once you're in it and then you do your cycle or whatever you're training for, I was training to be Jordan Burroughs. I felt like we were doing all the right things. I was excited heading up to that match. But I like how it's less matches now. Especially it takes more of a toll on your body if you have 50, 100 matches a year. So now just focusing on wrestling the best people, and that's something I wanted to do. And I got to wrestle with Jordan, and that was just it's been helping me a lot going back to that match and seeing what I need to do.
And I'll probably embarrass him a little bit, but having a coach as technical as Mark Perry, who's going to break down every single thing,
Yeah.
like which way your toes are facing and things like that. How valuable was it just to get that film? Not necessarily to beat Jordan again, but to do what you need to do, which is to try to make the Olympic team and be a gold medalist.
Yeah, it's helped me so much, being able to see that match and still today I think I could be anyone I wrestle, it's just the way I come out, the way, I compose myself. I think I need to be a little bit more tactical, a little smarter. Sometimes it's a habit. I go in there and just wrestle hard, just go, maybe in the senior level, just wrestle a little bit more tactically.
Well, I think as a guy that recruited guys, it's way better to get a guy that's here and you got to walk him back
Yeah,
than that's here and you got to walk him forward. If you don't, it's
yeah,
hard
for
to walk
sure.
forward as the competition gets better for sure.
Yeah,
So,
100%.
so you also wrestled in the tournament in France recently. I talked to Pritz. He told me that you guys, not only wrestled well, obviously your whole crew did, but
Yeah.
there was a lot of bonding and things like that over there. How good was it just to take an international trip with all these guys, and what did you learn from that experience?
Oh, it was great. It's always awesome traveling overseas, getting a feel of all those foreigners. But yeah, I feel like there was a really good team bonding with all the Sunkist people and all the USA wrestling people. But we all went out there and attacked and showed what we've been doing in the Sunkist room. So I think everything went well. Obviously, a few more matches I could learn from, from my wins and my loss against that Russian. So just I'm excited, looking forward, and looking forward to the trials. I think I'm gonna be where I need to be.
And yours is an interesting weight. It's one of the weights where there's not a returning medalist, so nobody's sitting in the
Yeah,
finals. It's just going to be seeded. Obviously, all these, and I actually talked to Mark about this, all these exhibition matches, are they going to count towards seeding or not? Obviously, depends on how they count weigh ins and all that stuff.
yeah,
But the top of the list in no particular order is yourself, DT, Nickel, Deeringer, Nate Jackson, Miles Martin, Pat Downey if he comes back. And I'm going to ask Mark about this too because he's working with all you guys. But
yeah,
how much of your training is training to beat those guys in specific scenarios, and how much of your training is just you getting better?
yeah. I mean, right now at this point, I think the arsenal I have and the moves and what I could do as wrestling technician. I think I have everything that I need. So now I like what me and Mark about and making sure we do those tactical maneuvers. Just positioning and slowing down their pace or whatever. Those type of things I think is what I need to work on right now, and that's what we've been working on. But obviously, continue to add. Every practice I'm gonna continue to add into my arsenal. But for now, it's just focusing on developing my positioning and my tactics.
Well, it's also interesting too. Like you get to a certain point, I'm guessing when you get close enough to a big event, you're like, I'm not adding anything else. I'm just going to make
Yeah,
sure I do these 6, 8, 12, 18 things, great. But I mean, really, like in some ways, it's oversimplified. You got to have a good gut wrench, a good leg lace, good defense on both those things, scrambles, stuff like that. So when let me circle back. What did you learn from the Burroughs match? What did you learn either just about wrestling or how he sort of composed himself after, you obviously won the first period? Like what can you
yeah.
feel from that match, either from him or just from your side of it?
I think what I felt most was his experience. Like especially right after the match, I knew like what I did wrong already. I was so used to just beating guys up in college. Takedown, let them up, takedown, takedown. Eventually, all these college guys would break. So switching it over to the senior level, I started doing the same thing, but these guys are just as good. So being able to, he kind of led me on into those shots, making sure I'm getting tired, and I kind of just overexerted myself in the beginning. And those are the type of just situations that I'm getting better on. But yeah, his experience, the way he just handled the entire match, his mid-match adjustments was just phenomenal from him.
So the mid-mass adjustments, and like I don't think we can steal this, but like if we could all just pull our socks up and get 10% better when we need to, you
Yeah,
know. Um,
yeah.
how do you learn to be that good at a mid-match adjustment? Is it just watching film? Is it like getting stressed in practice and then making that happen? Like how do you develop that? Because it's obviously a crucial thing to success.
I think just watching the video and then just really wanting to dictate the match how I want it to go. I think just sticking to the game plan and doing what I do is gonna help me.
Yeah, I think you said something really interesting about, take guys down, let them go. You're used to blowing guys out. When you go into these matches, like I look at the final 6, 8 guys at the trials, and obviously the two are a 2 out of 3, but
Yeah,
I mean, obviously you want to go down, take a guy down, leg lace him 4 times and get out of there. But realistically, it's probably going to be a 1 or 2 scramble match.
yeah,
And the mentality of that's so different because if you jump out to a 10-4 lead on me, even if it ends up being 20-14, or 14-8 or whatever the game,
yeah,
you had a cushion. You had this cushion where you're not burning as much nervous energy. So
yeah.
how have you sort of mentally adjusted to like, hey, these matches are going to be a grind. Like I'm not just going to blow these dudes out.
That's what I'm doing right now. I think I can still blow through everyone. If I'm fresh and they're fresh, 100%. I think I could take anyone down. Um, but it's just a game plan. People will just try to stop me for the first minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, and then after that, I just wear myself out. So I think it's just instead of taking 20 shots in 1 minute, I'll take 10. I don't think I'm going to change it too drastically. I'm still going to be that high offense, high pressure, wrestler, but I am going to take it back a notch and things aren't working. I'm not going to dive into the legs, just more fake snaps, adding that stuff in.
Yeah, I'm guessing probably working on your hand fighting and some of those other things so that those 10 shots are more effective, right?
Yes.
Yeah, for sure. I'm gonna jump over to Mark here for a second.
Mhm.
So Mark, I talked to you right when you were leaving Iowa. So I guess the first question is, obviously the environment's literally the weather and everything else. Are you able to do some different things like with outdoor training and stuff like that? Because I know you're a guy who's super creative with, trying to find the best pass for your athletes.
Yeah, I mean, we did. When we first got going, we started. I want to say slowly working in January and August. Where Um, the reality of it is with COVID and just the limitations and everybody moving, and university restrictions, and most people were probably at the lower end that they've been at, from just not being around the sport, not being on the mat. At least for me, that was the longest, time period I've ever been in my life. I'm assuming Zaid, everyone. So
Yeah.
we worked our way into it, and we were running Squaw Peak, which is, it's one of those things where you hear about it, kind of like the cog, and you're like, oh, it doesn't look that far, and then you run it, and it's
Yeah.
definitely not running up the stairs in Carver, that's for sure. I mean, and
Yeah.
the Carver stairs are brutal, but I was thinking, oh, it's going to be like Rustler's Hill at Iowa. I'm like, this is damn near Pikes Peak over here, So they run that a lot. It's pretty neat, that they have Camelback Mountain. I know some of the guys run, but lately we have a lot of our athletes. They're either training over at East Valley, which is a CrossFit place. They have everything you need to get in your strength and conditioning, and then Zaid and a group of people are training at Neuroforce. So they're doing a lot of that there. It's been kind of crazy, with we were at Fight Ready for a while, and then Thoroughbred, and bouncing back and forth between team practice and individual, and that's a 30-minute hike. You
Yeah.
know, where you have team practice, and then you're going to an individual at Fight Ready, and then back down to Thoroughbred. So, but we made it work, and we've slowly built ourselves into where we're at. We weren't trying to be at 100% at the Open. We were 100% trying, ready to compete, ready to scrap. But our best form, we knew that wasn't going to happen, and I think we knew, we were the best form you could be at whatever the first flow event, and then the next event we went to in France, and we'll be at a better form, heading into Rome. But most of the athletes here is kind of what we visualized and talked about. They have their team practice, but having their individual, things that they do outside of the practice, and the resources that are available here in Phoenix compared to most college towns it's been a game changer, and it's going to continue to be when, for athletes that graduate college, or that want to train internationally, having those resources, they just don't really exist in wrestling.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited for our athletes that they get those opportunities. And anytime you get individual devotion, I think as a coach, as long as my ego doesn't get in the way and say, hey, I got to be running his strength and conditioning program, and I got to be, if you trust the resources, that's what they're designed to do. That's their profession.
Yeah.
Is
Delegation, right?
sports
Yeah.
science, or nutrition, or if it's a recovery place in town, or a chiropractor, masseuse, good trainers. So it's definitely different. It's definitely got more of that MMA vibe, as far as
Like,
the guys trained, say maybe at Greg Jackson's, or up at TriStar, but then their chiropractor is 15 minutes down the road, and their masseuse is over here, and you're a professional. You get what you need. So that's been what we've been building, and what I felt like after Christmas, maybe right before, is kind of when we finally got settled in and figured out kind of what individually each guy is going to be doing. So it's been great since then.
well, you brought up MMA, and I'm lucky to be friends with some guys that are pretty high up there, and they talk about training cycles. And I actually talked to Zahid for a few minutes off the air about that. That it's like in high school and college, it's like you wrestle. High school, you wrestle 2 times a week. It seems like college, you wrestle usually once a week, and you don't have time to make these major improvements. It's okay. Hey, Mark rode legs on me. I need to work on getting out of legs this week. Hey, Zahid ankle pick me. I need to work on stopping an ankle pick, or whatever the case may be. You guys, I talked to Fritz a lot about stuff. Talked to different coaches. And I don't want you to give any trade secrets, but like we had a lot of coaches that are high school coaches, maybe college coaches that don't have as many assets, as many like resources to help them. Describe what a training cycle is. Like how much of it is grinding guys? When you peak them off? What's the sort of just the generic timing of that? Because I think you hear about this all the time, and I think people would want to know.
I I think it definitely changes, at this stage. Say for someone like Zaid or some of the women, Nick, they're starting to hit a form where these guys are professionals. Zaid and them probably won't ever go off a whole lot back from where they are now. We're in college. I'm not going to lie. I would get at 100 and then start preseason pretty far down there. Having to build where. So we'll get after it and grind. But Zaid's his own CEO. He knows where he's at, and at the end of the day, he's got to want to win the Olympics, not me. So they know when they need to pull back or they need to be pushed a little bit more. And there's a big time open communication line there. So the cycles. I would say. It just depends on the athlete. I kind of have a team plan, but then I obviously communicate with each individual. Zaid is a different kind of wrestler than whoever Suriano. They might both be high volume pressure wrestlers as far as constantly looking at causing anxiety on you, but the forms of skill are indifferent. Where one is all position and power, other is he can come at you a million different ways, in and out, up and down, all around. So just working around them. But I felt like we pushed pretty hard after the flow one. Leading into flow, we did, but it wasn't like I said. We're not getting ready for the Olympics. You're getting ready for one match.
Sure.
Now you're starting to get ready for multiple matches in a day. I think Zahid wrestled 5 maybe in a day versus 1 or 4. Can't remember what it was exactly, but and we're ultimately getting ready for 2-day tournament. He's got 2 matches the first day, and the best 2 out of 3 series, the next day, and then so.
You mentioned something that I thought was interesting. At the last couple years I coached college, we had some really good recruiting classes, and sometimes you have like, hey, so and so is really good at this. So like you mentioned, like Zahid and Suriano, and I know you got Misic there, and you got Forrest and Ali and Kayla and all these. They're all great wrestlers, right? But they all do it a little bit different way. Like how often, and maybe Zahid, if you want to jump in on this, either way, how often do you guys like sort of just trade knowledge with each other? Like if somebody's got a great leg lace, like how do you do that? Or hey, somebody's really good at clearing ties, or somebody's really good at covering mat. How much,
Yeah.
Mark, you kind of let these guys coach each other a little bit, or Zahid, whoever wants to talk about
Quick and then let him do his thing. But I encourage it. Where we want to continue to build. We have a young group of senior athletes. They have a lot of experience. Some of them do, but the more the better. Whatever. James Green was here yesterday, so you bet I'm gonna use him and try to, hey, explain to us on how you like to run corner and what your thought process is, and
Yeah.
what's your A, B, and C. So, I want that more and more and more as they continue, to chase down those World Olympic titles, because these guys, again, they're not amateurs; they're professionals. They've been winning since they were kids, so they can definitely pass along knowledge to each other. The more, the
Zahid,
better.
Zahid, how do you feel about that? Because like I know Jaden was out there a
Yeah.
month or two ago.
Yeah, I feel like we all just trade information, and then like if someone hits something that they're really good at, it's like, oh, hey, how'd you hit that? And then I think another thing that helps is like after these tournaments, and this tournament that we had, Mark puts together like the little bit of like a highlight video to see like what positions we were good at and stuff, and he'll send me or show me a video or a small clip of Forrest or Suriano what he did. So just picking off of everyone, I think just helps that we have such an elite group of guys and girls down here at Tempe.
Yeah. So we've been talking about this, and I think Mark is still efforting or texting to get him on, but Suriano's supposed to join us here hopefully in a few minutes. But you guys got Suriano and Misic in the same room, but it's interesting because obviously Stevan's already qualified for a different country, so they're not going to have to wrestle each other in the trials, but theoretically they could wrestle each other in the Olympics. Let me ask you first, Zahid, how cool is it just to be wrestling with a guy that is going to be in the Olympics? Like that's got to be kind of cool, right?
Yeah, that's awesome. the goal that I have for myself. So knowing that someone's already there, already made it, it's cool to see.
And Mark, his training is obviously different, right? Because he doesn't have to qualify for, he doesn't have to go through a trials. He's just trying to peak for Tokyo. So, do you have him on different cycles? And I guess let me back up. How did Stevan and Suriano end up out there? Because I think a lot of people want to know that.
Yeah. Well, with Stefan, I've known them since way back. Before when Alex Serchis was his coach. I
Yeah.
worked with him, and Izzy worked with him when he was a young kid. So I've known him. I mean, same as Zahid. I didn't know him personally, but I ran a clinic at Calvary Chapel when Zahid and Anthony were probably in fifth grade or fourth.
Yeah.
These guys have always been, winning. So I knew Stefan. He used to come to our RTC at Illinois and work out, and even knew him way before that. Um, they with this whole COVID and everything was crazy. They just reached out and asked, now that I wasn't working with Gilman, if I'd come out and spend some time with him. So he came out, for a week in August, and then came back for several weeks in October, and then went back home for a couple weeks, and then came back for two more, and then went back home. And now he actually headed back at the end of November, back up to
Ann Arbor.
in Michigan, getting to help his team get ready for the national championships. And knock on wood, they get that opportunity. I saw that thing the other day with Michigan potentially, shutting those athletes down. So he hasn't been around since November, but hopefully in time get him back out here. But I love it. I think it's something that Americans need to grow. It's very difficult. I've been around it at Iowa, with high level competitors that want the same thing. But, being over in Russia and being over in Japan on women and the Greco side, and seeing that Japan has their 1 to 10s basically all in the same room, 1 to 10, and Dagestan the same thing. And like I said, I'll bet any amount of money, and I would love to get that guy over here and wrestle Zahid in a match. If they wrestle tomorrow, it will be ugly, that same guy. But they get a feel, guys of their caliber, on a daily basis. And it's just like, there's not a lot of places in America when you have someone as good as Zahid or Forrest. It's like I told Forrest, like, who the hell am I going to find in America your size outside of Tamira?
Right.
That's really push it. We're going to have to improvise. And so when we get those opportunities, and that's our goal in time, whether they're this country or other countries, hopefully, they scrap. I mean, again, when you have a confidence and a belief in yourself, you're going to get it done against the whole world. We can't be paranoid in our own room, our own country. And I definitely think that is something that we could grow as a country. But I love it. I mean, Zahid's been around it and seen it enough. When those two did go, a couple of times, the energy changed. It was like it was the NCAA finals or Olympics. Like they're not messing around. They're not, so, and that makes people in general just uncomfortable, because the night before sleep, everything. But the more you feel those emotions, the more you're prepared for them. And I think that's a little bit of, for everybody, like I said, with Zahid's, when we're critiquing and he's trying to become a better wrestler, like I got zero concerns. This dude can go. He can go, and he's got some serious. I mean, he's the best offensive guy in the world at that weight. And David Taylor's really, really, he's had a lot of success and a good guy. But I'm just talking speed, explosion. I mean, up, around, over, this way, that way. I mean, pretty damn impressive. And when, he just like Taylor did, and just like Dake and several other Americans, as he continues to figure out, I think he's going to be doing what he did in college to these guys. I think he's going to be playing with them eventually. And that's the goal. Let's make it happen sooner than later,
Yeah, for sure. So, well, we actually just got our special guest, Nick Suriano. Welcome, sir.
What's going on? Thanks for having me.
We appreciate you coming on, man. So many questions. First of all, congrats on France.
Thanks.
Got
Sorry,
the,
I'm just trying to configure how this works here. Think
that's
we're
okay.
good, but can you hear
Now
me?
you're good. Now
Yeah,
you're good. Yeah.
Cool.
So just wanted to start out with your training. Uh, when did you make the decision to go down to Sunkist, and what was sort of the catalyst or catalyst for doing that?
Um, I think I moved out here mid-October, but yeah, I came out, after the summertime, and my purpose was pulling me out here, and I aligned with Coach Perry, and I loved how the practices were, and just the whole atmosphere, and it was the right move.
I think you used a really cool phrase there. You said your purpose pulled you there. When you say that, what do you mean by that?
Um, I just think purpose pulls, and it's I had a good situation back home, but to take it to the level I want to go, I
Yeah.
had to make some changes, and it's everything I'm dreaming of, and you know, so it's just getting around the right people, and that's what the situation is right now.
Nice. Well, obviously, you had good success over there a couple weeks ago. Is the plan just to stay there at Sunkist all the way through the trials, or go back to college this semester, or what's the plan there?
I'll be training here in Arizona with Sunkist Coach Perry and the squad here for sure. The goal is to win the Olympics, and focusing one event at a time. Uh, so taking it every workout, every session, one at a time. Until the time comes for me to
Yeah.
fulfill my dream.
Well, Mark was just talking about the energy in the room when Stevan was there, and you guys were able to get some scraps in. And obviously, he's a guy that's already been able to qualify for the Olympics. And getting some training with somebody like that who wrestles more of the European style. Yeah, how helpful was that for you? Or what did you learn from some of those, either those drills or those live goes or those spars?
I think it was great for me. I think it was great competing against him, knowing the level he's at. Um, he was also peaking for a big tournament, and I was just getting back into my groove, and so there was a lot of upside for me, and I just know what I can do when it comes time to put it on the line. So all that's helping me, and we're again staying in the moment, taking it one workout at a time.
So I'm going to stay out of the moment, just kind of fast forward it a little bit. With the trials, there's so many hammers at 57, and I think most of us on the outside look at it like, man, the draws, the seeds, all that stuff. You seem like a guy who, like you said, to use the word purpose in your training. How much of your training, maybe percentage wise, is making Nick Suriano better, and how much of it is making sure that I can beat person X in these positions where they're really good, or just avoiding those positions altogether?
Um, I don't think we're avoiding positions. I think we're preparing to win the positions, when, however they come. Uh, with that said, I think it is about improving, Nick Suriano on a daily basis, and the opponents are just what they are. You know, um, everyone's gonna have a plan, and it just comes down to my abilities, my will, and our strategies, and our plan. So
You've obviously been coached by some great guys, Dave Bell, Kale, the Goodale, and all those guys. What has Coach Perry, done or added to your life that's maybe a little bit different, or obviously you felt drawn, like you said, you felt your purpose was he was going to help you fulfill that. So what's been a little different or a little better for you?
oh, there's definitely differences. I can't I can't think of them on the top of my head. I just think belief was a big one for me, and actually, really, knowing the positions, knowing the team, the opponents, just being in the game, and for real though, and not that others aren't. It's just for me, I think we were just compatible, and I think we see things similarly, and I'm you know I'm not letting anyone get in the way of it.
Yeah. The kind of a big picture approach, and any of you guys want to answer this. A couple years ago, Pritz helped me get Art Martori as an interview, which is probably the hardest single guy to get because that guy just doesn't do those. And the 9 people watching or listening to this that don't know who Art Martori is, that guy's basically the godfather of USA wrestling. It's helped save the Olympic movement. Has There's almost no great wrestler that he hasn't touched their lives. And I know, Mark, you guys are working on this Sunkist Dreammaker organization. So I guess for Mark, for you to start, and then you guys as the athletes, what is that exactly? How do people get involved? How does the organization work? Mark, you and I had a chance to talk with Kim a couple months ago on some of that stuff. I was excited just to hear about it. Maybe just give people a 2 or 3 minute summary of what's going on there.
Yeah. So with Art, I mean, for people that don't know, he's been supporting and backing wrestling probably at a higher level than anyone for 45 plus years. I think in the last 10, 15, I don't want to say, and this put my, shoe in my mouth, that he's pulled back, but you do it for that long. It's like, I think he's rejuvenated, right now. He's excited. And we have a lot of ideas, and it's really, I'm working with his daughter Kim. Art is obviously very involved, but Kim's the boss. That's who I answer to, and we have a lot of ideas. But I just think they're excited. They've always been involved. They've been supporting. I mean, that international travel is not cheap. And people don't realize it's not just the athletes here for Sunkist. We're a national club.
Right.
We're not a regional training center. We support Jordan Burroughs and Helen Morales and, some of the people that we'll be competing against in the finals of the trials are local athletes. So they've been doing that for, forever. And obviously you had Gator Wrestling Club and Tide Mercury. I mean, all these clubs, Foxcatcher, that have come along that have been instrumental in just continuing to help athletes. But Art and them have been doing it since, the beginning, basically. And I mean, I couldn't feel, more fortunate. And I guess for me, my idea was why don't we help them a little bit? Everyone's always asking.
Yeah.
Everyone's always asking, hey,
they got their hand out all the time.
I need this, I need that. Why doesn't somebody get up and do something and help a little bit? So we're just throwing different ideas out, and we have some different ideas that can take Sunkist here locally and nationally to a whole nother level with resources and finances for, the professional athletes when they graduate. And that's part of the Dreammaker thing. We're still figuring it out, a little bit. Like it's like we did at the Hawkeye Wrestling Club with the Inner Circle, but I think more it's about giving people content, giving them, just access to what it's really about to be a professional athlete. These trips, putting those vlogs together, and interviews with past champions and the new ones, and obviously trying to make money off of it. But the money is 100%. Every single penny of the money goes to them. It goes to these guys. It goes to their neuroforce. It goes to whatever. It goes to the their training. It's not like wrestling's a sport where they're putting back retirement right now. Now, once they win world and Olympic titles, the sport is changing. JB and some of these guys that in America are making real money, a lot more than they'll ever make as a head coach. So we're excited to continue to help push that, just like the media outlets are and everything. But we're going to do a lot with it. We're going to do events with the Dreammaker. We're going to do interviews. We're going to do live stream interviews and practices, and a lot of things. Next week we have Oliver's coming into town, and Burroughs and several other guys are coming, and we're going to run it back with him and Zahid. And who knows, we might even do it live. So, but
Zahid, you got a big smile on your face. You're excited.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love training with Burroughs. He's awesome, and it's a great feel. So I'm excited for them to come down.
That's awesome. Well, my time is almost up here. Nick, obviously you jumped on the latest. I just want to give you, you know, the platform if you want to just say anything about Sunkist or your training, any of the people you want to thank, along the way. Give you that opportunity to do that.
Yeah, pretty much everyone at Sunkist. Thank you. But Coach Perry is obviously someone who is in my corner all the way through, and we have an agreement, and we're on a mission. So, but everything's been great. The training's been awesome. The energy in the room, the people who are coming in. It seems like there's a lot of upside. A lot of potential. We got Burrows, Oliver, a lot of big names coming in. James Green was just here. So, yeah, it seems really bright, and that's how I'm trying to keep it and keep elevating and progressing from there.
Awesome. Well, I know Art is a great leader, and he was able. I think great leaders get great people to follow them, and he was able to bring in a guy like Mark Perry. And Mark, obviously, your ability as a leader is just self evident by who's on this podcast with you right now. Plus, you got a whole crew of other people there that are going to probably make the Olympic team on both the men's and women's side. Um, I can't. I'm super excited to be at the trials. Looking forward to watching you guys all compete. I know coordinating calendars was really difficult, so I appreciate all you guys coming on. Tell Pritz I owe him a big plate of chicken wings for helping me set this up. And he's trying to talk me into coming down to the golf tournament the week after the trial. So maybe I'll see you guys down there then. Yeah. And this is the first podcast I've done for USA Wrestling. I just moved over from track, so I really appreciate you guys being the first guest. It was an exciting move for me, and obviously, you guys are all going to end up, already have represented USA Wrestling. So, I want to wish you guys all the best of luck, health, and best wishes. And thank you guys so much for coming on.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks for having us.
Thanks.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for listening. This is David Mirikitani with Matt Chat. We'll speak to you all next week.